For all you people out there who whined and complained when the Niners didn't do anything at the trade deadline, guess what? They just signed Matt Gay. What's up? Good afternoon. Good evening. This is Cohn and Krueger. That's Larry Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn. And forget what you thought you knew about the 49ers because they just brought in the third kicker of the season. Eddie Pinheiro's hurt. Jake Moody's with the Washington Commanders. So hold on. I just put this together. Matt Gay got cut by the Commanders, and they decided that Jake Moody would be better, and now the Niners have Matt Gay. Wow. Is he worse than Jake Moody, Larry?
He is this year. He's having a bad year. The Niners are getting a good kicker having his worst year. He's making 68% this year. He's made 13 and he's missed 6.
Ooh, that's horrendous. Well,
it's not great. But he's got a good track record of making kicks. He's just not making them this year, which is
when
the
a
year
team
that
cuts
they
you
need him.
so they can sign Jake Moody, that's a bad sign.
Yeah. He's really struggled. You know, he struggled from beyond 50.
I watched the game last week. He missed that long one at the end, wide right. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to inspire a lot of confidence. Fortunately, the Niners are just going to score 45 points a game, 7 touchdowns a game. They'll be okay. They don't really need him.
Just maybe he'll get hot. Maybe, my guess is somebody knows him, right? Either Boyer knows him, or Boyer's assistant knows him, or somebody in their personnel department knows him. There's got to be some relationship. I will say this: if by chance Eddie Pinheiro's injury extended, at least they're getting a kicker who's played in the Super Bowl. So that's
with the Rams, right?
With the Rams. Yeah, it was 2021, but at least they've got a guy that's played in the postseason.
I feel bad for Brock because he never really got to play much with Eddie Pinheiro. He had the Jake Moody experience for a long time, and now Pinheiro's out again, and he has another, he has Jake Moody. He's like a poor man's Jake Moody. I mean, seriously, that's bad luck. And, when we look at why the Niners are 7-4 right now, Mac Jones has a lot to do with that because he ended up being, a starting caliber backup. But Eddie Pinheiro has as much or more to do with it than Mac Jones. And I wonder if not having Eddie Pinheiro out there will cost the Niners a game or two that they should win.
They've been leaning on Eddie. It's like the Niners lean on Eddie. They'll be like, Eddie, get out there. 55, get out there. Save us. So, yeah.
He's been getting Calais Campbell's face, talking crap. I mean, he's like the emotional center of the team. He talks once a week in the locker room, Dad. I mean, Dad. Larry, you're my dad today.
No problem, son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's in there.
He's there. He's the new Debo. He's got the boom box and the whole thing.
Yeah, I like him. Well, Matt Gay has big shoes to fill. He's going to have to talk crap, be fiery, make every kick.
He's done it before. Can he do it again? That's the question.
And if you don't know who he is, he was with the Rams from 2020 to 2022 and was pretty good. Then he went to Indianapolis and was average, not great. And then he went to Washington this year and was absolutely freaking terrible. So maybe he just needs a change of scenery. Maybe he'll go back to being solid. Maybe he's more of a West Coast guy. Maybe he likes burritos and surfing.
Maybe he'll walk in and just be like, you know what? This is my new home. I'm going to start making kicks.
It feels ominous, Larry. It felt like the Niners had somehow caught lightning in a bottle with Mac Jones and Eddie Pinheiro, and the football gods were smiling upon them. And now all of a sudden, Eddie's gone? You got the Matt Gay experience? I worry. Something doesn't feel right here.
Well, and there's going to be close games. Am I glitching here? Am I glitching?
A little bit, but I mean, audio's good. Okay. You'll catch up.
They've had a hot kicker that they've leaned on, and now they're going to have some close games. You would think, maybe not the next few, but definitely down the stretch, they're going to have some close games. They're not going to blow anybody out. With this defense, they will not be blowing people out. So they're going to need every point.
All right, so they got a kicker. Brandon Cooks is available. Odell Beckham Jr. is available. He was suspended. He's the suspension is over. Do you think the Niners should go after either of those veterans?
I think Brandon Cooks makes sense. Now, I've interviewed Brandon Cooks before. If he can still run, he makes a lot of sense. He grew up in Stockton. He grew up a Niner fan. He's a big Niner fan. Big Niner fan. He's never played for the Niners, but he's also aged kind of gracefully, I think. If he's in good shape and can run, and obviously you'd have to bring him in and work him out, I think he could help them. He's a down the field receiver. Brock Purdy likes to go down the field. So I would say a down the field receiver like Cooks would be nice. Beckham's more of a possession guy. I don't think he can run as well. I don't think I'm as interested. I think you already have slowish guys that can catch the ball in a crowd.
I think that Brandon Cooks could help. He has a skill set that they don't necessarily have right now, and he could be a good complement. But here's my little rant. They wouldn't use him. And Kyle Shanahan's doing a lot of things really well this year, but one thing I don't understand is his depth chart at wide receiver. I mean, I think you can make a pretty strong argument that the most consistent receiver on the team this season, maybe the best receiver on the team this season, has been Kendrick Bourne. And yet, since Juwan Jennings came back, Bourne is now below Demarcus Robinson on the depth chart, which is not right. Like, why? Because you paid Demarcus Robinson and gave him a 2-year deal and you're trying to justify it? I mean, I think Kendrick Bourne deserves 5, 6 targets a game, but he won't get them. So, yeah, bring in Brandon Cooks and let him rot on the bench too. That's my rant.
By the way, Ricky Pearsall, for those people going like, yeah, Krug, leave him alone. He barely played last week. He ran 85.1% of the routes and got one catch. So that was his first.
Now, in his defense, there was a clip floating around of him sort of getting open in the end zone and Brock Purdy either not seeing him or not being in position to throw it to him, scrambling out of the pocket and getting sacked by Josh Sweat. So it's not that he wasn't getting open. He just didn't get the ball.
Yeah. So that means that this week should be a big week for him. So we shall see. He's the one guy that can really run. Him and Sky Moore, and obviously Watkins, but Watkins, seems like he's hurt, never out there, whatever. But yeah, between Robinson, Jennings, and Bourne, Bourne I think made sense when you were going with Mac Jones, but if you're really going with Purdy, which is what they're going with, then I think a better fit would be Cooks. But I don't know that they probably aren't going to make that switch, but I think they should. And they should look for incremental improvement, even if even if that means making a move and moving somebody, off the roster, because you need a downfield threat. You don't have much. And who's your downfield threat? Kittle? Sunday was Kittle.
It's Pearsall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to have another one.
Well, it would be nice. Let me ask you this. How would you say Brock Purdy played against the Cardinals? I mean, he destroyed the Cardinals. But then again, Mac probably could have. Adrian Martinez probably could have. The Cardinals destroyed the Cardinals. They committed 17 penalties. They turned the ball over 3 times. They gave the ball to the Niners at the 1-yard line to start the game. I mean, they didn't really want to mess around. Just looking at Brock, independent of the Cardinals, how did he look to you?
I thought he looked pretty good. I mean, first of all, I thought, he took good care of the football, but as far as he didn't wind up with picks, but there was at least 3 or 4 throws that were like, what? The last one to CMC was like you would have swore it was like a ball that got tipped into the air. The trajectory on that was just so loopy. So, I mean, I'm wondering a little bit about 3 or 4 of those throws. And I'm still wondering about how how that toe feels. And he seems like he's not quite, he seemed hesitant to run. So he's not quite Brock, but then he's also really competitive. He hasn't played in a while. He was under a lot of pressure because Jones had played well. And I think all things considered, I think he played remarkably well, but the people that are losing their mind over it, I think you better go look at that a little closer.
I think he did a good job of like showing his mastery of the offense. That first touchdown pass to George Kittle was such a nice play, identifying man-to-man coverage. It wasn't super obvious because they did a bunch of shifts and motions, and there wasn't like clear defenders following people. I mean, he deciphered it in a different way. That was pretty cool. Um, and like you said, he took care of the ball. But I think it was clear. First of all, he held the ball for like 3.3 seconds per pass. So he's still trying to be a playmaker and passing up first reads to get deeper into progression and push the ball down the field, which is great. But when he did want to take off and run, there were a few times where he tried to take off and run and get away from a pass rusher. I didn't think he could really do it. So I don't know. Maybe he's still hesitant, or clearly he said he's not 100% healthy. He didn't need to be very mobile to beat the Cardinals. But I don't know that we're going to see the full mobility of Brock Purdy this season. And that's going to be interesting to see what that looks like when he goes against, like the Seahawks, the Colts down the stretch.
No question. I mean, that I think if I was him, I mean, I would try to run as little as possible until it really matters. Be more like Mahomes. Mahomes is not a runner. Mahomes moves in the pocket. He runs once in the second half to beat you. And that's what, if I was Purdy, I think I'd try to run like that if I could. Now, it's easy to say, right? It's hard when you're standing out there and you're trying to make plays down the field and your offensive line is, rough, and you got guys, coming into the backfield and getting penetration, forcing you out. So it's easier said than done. But if I would him, and I think he looked like a guy who didn't want to run. He looked like a guy that was like, you know what? I'm going to try to make plays from the pocket. And I think that's probably his best course of action, but that's not him. His skill set includes running, but might not for the rest of this year.
There were a couple plays where I felt like he was surprised at his lack of, I don't know, speed. Like he scrambled out of the pocket to the left, and I thought it looked like he thought he could run for the first down, but then he couldn't get to the corner, and he pulled up and threw the ball to Demarcus Robinson, or was it Pearsall? It was almost intercepted. Yeah. And it seemed like he was like, I can't get there. Let me pull up and make a throw. But I thought when he took off running, he thought he could get there because normally he could. And then there was the other play I mentioned where Pearsall was open in the end zone, and Purdy scrambles to his left, and Josh Sweat catches him from behind. I feel like those were two plays where maybe he was surprised that he couldn't get away, because last year Purdy could get away from those plays. He did get away from those types of sacks a lot.
Well, it's a great point, because his greatest skill set is that quick spurt,
that 10-yard burst.
Yeah, it's the 10-yard burst, and it's really being really, really quick right away. Like, I'm 2 steps full speed and I'm going. And that's what he's got at 225 pounds. That's like one of his best traits. And he doesn't have that right now. He's a slow gatherer to get it rolling. He doesn't have that quick twitch go. And he's going to have to get used to it. So plays he used to be able to make, he can't make, and that's one of them.
I think it's really interesting too. So when we talk about Mac versus Brock, most Niner fans say Brock is much better, and they point to the mobility as the deciding factor, the differentiator. And that is a big differentiator, but he doesn't have it right now. And one thing I'd like to see from Brock down the stretch, again, especially against these teams that he should beat, is to play a little bit more like Mac. Get rid of the ball a little quicker. Maybe don't hold it 3.3 seconds on average every drop back. Maybe get rid of it in 2.7 like you did when you were a rookie. Because the offense functions that way. It's not like it's a deep passing offense anyway. And keep you healthy. Keep the offense moving.
Point guard, distributor, 3 steps, ball comes out. Don't hold it. Yeah, I mean, I think he was fortunate to not be sacked. I mean, and then you got Myles Garrett coming up. So that's a great game plan, period. But it's a really great game plan because Myles Garrett can end your year. And Myles Garrett's 280 pounds. He runs in the 4.5s. He's sacking quarterbacks, in bunches. And get rid of the ball and neutralize the rush. It also really frustrates the defense. When the Niners beat the Rams, supposedly in the post-game locker room earlier this year, the Ram D-line was just really, really frustrated because they couldn't get to Jones because Jones got rid of the ball so fast. And I think quarterbacks sometimes forget that you can really frustrate a defense if you don't give them hits on the quarterback.
I mean, when we first saw Brock Purdy in 2022, I think most people compared him to Drew Brees. A little bit shorter, but a very cerebral pocket quarterback. And since he's been in the league, I feel like his game has evolved to be much more like, I don't know, like a very small Josh Allen. Like it seems like that's the kind of quarterback he wants to be. And he's not built to be that guy. And he gets hurt. He's hurt his toe twice this year. I think he could play like Drew Brees. That's sort of how Mac Jones, what he aspires to be, is that kind of a guy. And we've seen it from Brock Purdy before. He's seen it from Mac Jones in this offense. You have Christian McCaffrey. You're always free to check it down. It's okay. You got paid. No one's going to call you a dink and dunk quarterback anymore. That's the only thing I would say, because he looked really good. And I love the way he pushes the ball down the field. I think he just needs to be a little bit more decisive with when he takes those shots and when he checks down.
The guy he kind of reminds me of, even in the way he retreats when he gets pressed, is Brett Favre. He reminds me of Brett Favre because he always wants to drive the ball down the field. And he's always thinking, if I just keep drifting and I can make a play. And he's not that fearful of the rush, and when he gets pressure in his face, he kind of retreats backwards. And sometimes he does figure eights. Sometimes he turns his back on the line of scrimmage. He reminds me a little Favre in that he hunts the big play when he probably should do what I'm sure Holmgren said to Favre: get rid of the ball. But instead, he hunts the big play, and that's what Brock does.
He's fun to watch. Spider369 says, do you think they fire Lynch? I don't, personally. I think the team is going to use the injury excuse, and if they make the playoffs, I think they're going to give themselves a little bit of a participation trophy.
Yeah, I don't think with Shanahan being the central figure and Shanahan being the guy that brought you Lynch, I don't think you get rid of the hand-picked general manager of the central figure of your football team against his wishes and expect that to be a good thing. So I would say, and I don't see any rift.
That's kind of a shot across the bow at Kyle to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just you're going to play. You think you're going to play super hardball when you're Jed York and he's Kyle Shanahan and he can go anywhere and you're going to have a hard time attracting the next head coach once you're the guy that chased out Kyle Shanahan. So I don't know. I think Jed's smart enough to know that that's not going to end well for him. So I think what could happen though is there could be, because there is internal pressure and everybody is dialed up super tight over there. I would say that there could be a reshuffling as far as the power structure where the masthead, where everybody's name is still in the same order, but within the room, certain voices are more powerful than others, or certain voices gain power while other voices lose power, kind of a thing. I think I could see that. That seems like more their speed than to run out Lynch, because Lynch is he's an honorable guy. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a great face of the franchise. He's undeniably a smart guy. He's an ethical guy. He's a great face of the franchise. He's got an impeccable reputation across the sport, right? You're not going to fire him necessarily. You might be able to influence him to do fewer personnel roles and more presidential roles in some kind of internal thing, but that's how I see it.
I just don't get the sense that Jed York wants to shake anything up. I get the sense that he wants everyone to believe that the Niners have this, going in the right direction. They're building something, and the only reason they're not contending more aggressively this year is because it's a transition year and they had some injuries. That's the only everything they're doing is good. And there's a lot of people who will tell you that. I think that's kind of what they want, just to sort of control the narrative while they go 10-7 or 11-6.
There's got to be somebody though who's looking at these draft picks and these investments and go, there's 18 picks in the first 3 rounds in the last 9 drafts that are kind of like, what? Really Jake Moody, really Cam Latu, really Dante, So I mean, there's got to be some reckoning moment for 18 misses in 9 drafts in the first 3 rounds. I mean, you're averaging 2 misses out of 3 picks. You're only supposed to get 3 picks in the first 3 rounds, 1 pick per round, and you have 18 misses in 9 years. So you got more picks and then you missed 18 times. It's not like you missed all of them, but you had a lot of picks and you missed 18 of them. Anyway, it's too high of a miss rate. Somebody's going to get blamed for that at some point. That is the number one reason. I don't want to hear about injuries. I don't want to hear about transition years. The number one reason that if they fall short, they've fallen short is they're if you gave them, if they, instead of missing 18 players, if they missed half that many, they missed 9, you gave the Niners 9 more players drafted in rounds 1, 2, or 3 still on their roster contributing, they would be a better football team and probably a Super Bowl team.
Joseph Ernberg says Panthers about to cook these bum-ass Niners. No, they're not. They haven't cooked anyone. They've won some close games. Joseph Ernberg says, who is the most critical content creator? David. East Dad says, tired of KS and his sheet. Get him out of here. And his sheet? His play sheet? Bill Kennedy says, think they will limit Brock in practice.
That sheet's laminated, by the way. Have some respect for lamination.
You can't get rid of that.
Yeah.
It's not biodegradable.
That's a weatherproof sheet. It's not a piece of paper.
Will Brock be limited or full go?
That's a good one. I bet you he's limited. I bet you they'll keep him in like limited status. Or do you think that begs more questions? So maybe they'll make him full go just to. I mean, I don't know if there'll be a difference in what we see, right? We're not even seeing it. So it's what's more to their advantage to say he's limited and have him play, or say that he's full go, give everybody confidence he's the guy.
Maybe full go. I don't know. They said he was full go, what, Thursday, Friday?
Or the gamesmanship. I mean, and these coaches love their gamesmanship.
Yeah.
Limited is the gamesmanship move, right? Limited says, hey, Panthers, you got some underling in your office? Well, guess what? He's going to go watch Mac Jones video for the next 5 hours because we said Brock's limited. And we want him spending those 5 hours doing that, because if he's doing that, that's 5 hours he can't be doing something else. So we'll just say Brock's limited for gamesmanship.
It could happen. All right, I got a question for you. Which position do you think the Niners will address in round 1 next year? Considering that it seems like this season isn't really about the Super Bowl. It's about doing the best they can, given all the hardship they've dealt with. But next year, no excuses. How are they going to approach that draft, you think?
Well, I've been saying for the whole year, offensive tackle, offensive tackle, offensive tackle, offensive tackle. But you know what? I know enough about the Niners and the way they think and about the way they, Matt Miller from ESPN just came out with his mock draft. And he also is a Niner fan. He knows how they think. He has the Niners taking the Ohio State defensive tackle in the first round. And I'll go with Matt Miller on that. I think he's right. He spends a lot of time thinking about that stuff. By the time the draft rolls around, it will be defensive line, and they'll lean on they'll go towards defensive tackle. They're getting no pass rush at all, no impact at all in their rush plan coming from the defensive tackle spots with any consistency. Kalia had a really nice game, but like 4 or 5 pressures, but it's Kalia and nothing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I agree. I don't think they're going to take an offensive tackle. If they planned on taking an offensive tackle, they wouldn't have extended Colton McKivitz. They unsarcastically, unironically like Colton McKivitz. You know, some people have really bad taste in music and they like some band. You're like, they really like the Colton McKivitz experience, and Trenton Williams is signed for a couple more years as well. So I think they're going to keep going defensive line. And the thing that's so interesting to me about their philosophy about drafting defensive line, when have they ever hit on a pass rusher other than Bosa, who was pretty much universally regarded as a NFL ready pass rusher when he came into the league? I mean, every guy they get is
Charles Haley.
A run defender.
Have you forgotten about Charles Haley?
Charles Haley.
It's only 1986, but Charles Haley. I mean,
I'm sorry. I guess I was talking about John Lynch, but yeah, Charles Haley was a great pick. 4th round.
Prince was still making new music. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. I mean, Drake Jackson in the 2nd round. They just don't. They don't. Robert Beal. I mean, Robert Beal he's a scout's dream, right? 6'4", 260. He's got 4.4 speed. Everything except for, he doesn't actually make the plays.
And then
So,
Mykel
yeah.
Williams. They drafted Mykel Williams at 11. He's essentially a small defensive tackle who's kind of slow, as you pointed out before the draft, and extremely raw. Extremely raw. And he's got a ways to go.
I mean, and think about it this way. The argument for Mykel is that, hey, man, this guy is a good interior rusher. Well, guess what? Guess who's a better interior rusher?
Keon
Walter
White.
Nolan.
Oh, yeah.
Walter Nolan. And Walter Nolan just had a huge game against you.
True.
Walter Nolan looks like a beast. You really wanted an interior rusher. Why not draft Walter Nolan?
Yeah.
Could have traded back and drafted Walter
And
Nolan.
they compared Mykel Williams to Eric Armstead. Yeah, I guess if Eric Armstead was 265 pounds.
Yeah, Eric.
What are you talking
about? Eric Armstead was 290. Yeah. The same size as Walter Nolan.
Yeah.
If you really like a guy's an interior rusher and he's 260, you can't take him with the 11th pick.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that one.
I mean, Shamar Stewart doesn't seem like he would have been a great pick either. That Jalen Walker would have been a pretty good pick. Jalen Walker would have been good. Tyler Warren would have been good. James Pierce would have been good. Yeah. Gray Zabel would have been good.
Well, I'll give you this one. Who can the Niners not beat? And because they can't beat them, they don't have any rings. Kansas City. And who's Kansas City's automatic guy? Travis Kelce. And who right now is absolutely the anti-Travis Kelce? Jedi Barron of the Denver Broncos. And that's who I would have gone with. Barron was the Thorpe Award winner. He was an awesome DB. He was a surefire awesome DB. You tell me you couldn't use an anti-Travis Kelce, or with the Rams with their, 3 tight ends, you couldn't use a Jedi Barron. Barron, I think, was the slam dunk pick, and that was a great pick by Denver.
And I think when the Niners get in trouble drafting these defensive linemen around 1, Mykel Williams, Javon Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas, they sort of fall in love with their frame, their character, their story, their football IQ, but the pass rush production just isn't there. And they draft these raw players who are run defenders and say that Chris Kaserik will figure it out. I mean, they got to stop doing that. If they take the best defensive lineman they drafted, other than Bosa, was Buckner, who they inherited, didn't appreciate, and traded. The thing that made Buckner so special coming out of Oregon is he had an entire pass rush arsenal already. I mean, he didn't learn that in the NFL.
He had a big club move. He had a swim move. Yeah, he had a number of moves. By the way, somebody's like, "Hey, what's Walter Nolan doing?" Walter Nolan rankings via PFF with all rookie defensive tackles. First in defensive rating, first in run defense rating, first in pass rush, first in win percentage, first in true, or second in win percentage in true pass sets. So, I mean, the guy's been incredible. I mean, Walter Nolan's been really, really good. He went to 18th. They had the 11th
I think
pick.
Part of the problem, though, for the Niners is that they run this wide 9 thing, and they have these specific physical profiles for the defensive linemen. And I don't think Walter Nolan necessarily fits. Great player or promising young player, but we talked about it in the offseason. If you don't want to completely suck against the run using this wide 9, you need space eaters at defensive tackle who don't necessarily play on third down. You need big DNs. And I think they know that. So they pass on a player like Walter Nolan, who the other 20, every other team would want, because most other teams use 5-man fronts. But the Niners using this very specific 4-man front that a lot of, most college teams don't use. These players coming into the league aren't familiar with. And you're trying to fit, Mykel Williams was.
I don't think it was that. I think he was scheme versatile. I think he's. I think Walter Nolan's scheme versatile. Maybe. I think he's 293 and yet he moves like an end. I don't think it was that. I think it's just if you notice the one thing about the Niners in this regime, the last regime, you had some guys who were some rough guys and some guys who were a little wild card. They don't go for the guys who are a little bit on the edge. This guy's been a 5-star since he was in the 6th grade. And so he kind of knows he's pretty special. And there's a lot of attitude coming out of Walter Nolan. And I think that's really it. I think it was just that he wasn't
that
there.
Mykel.
Mykel's much more of a, hard worker, straight line, tough guy.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, serious. He'll do what he's going to. Yeah. And he's a better dude, I think. I think they were a little worried about Nolan and some of the
That's the same
stories.
reason they drafted Alex Smith over Aaron Rodgers.
Right, because Aaron Rodgers he looked at us funny when we said do jumping jacks upside down, and Alex Smith said, "Sure, I'll do it."
Yeah.
It's all right, great.
Yeah.
How about the fact that Aaron Rodgers went into the LA Coliseum and completed 17 passes in a row and stood toe to toe with one of the most talented college football teams in the history of college football at Cal in like 105 degrees? Screw that.
But again, why didn't they take Walter Nolan? Because they come into the draft with an idea of like the physical profile they want. I mean, yeah, I think it's partially the makeup as well. But
I think his makeup is
I think with Kinlaw, a D tackle, they want someone that looks like Javon Kinlaw. They want someone 6'5", 320 who can anchor against a double team. So that's not Walter Nolan. Well, it just turns out that Walter Nolan's the best player available. So you know what? Tweak your scheme. Figure it out. You can't afford to pass on players like this to take someone like Mykel Williams, who looks like the defensive end you want ideally in your wide nine, but then you get him and it turns out, oh, he's not a DN. He's a small D tackle who can't even really rush in the interior. I mean, Keon White, who they got for nothing, has been a better interior pass rusher than Mykel Williams was.
I think Mykel's got talent but I mean, it's like he's not what you're looking for as a 3-down player, either at defensive end or defensive tackle. And for the 11th pick in the draft, I got to have a guy that's an anchor player. Now, he did play a ton of snaps. He is versatile. They're in the sub package, and yeah, him and Yatir Gross-Matos inside in the sub looked really scary, and there's reasons to like him. I mean, he was the 11th pick in the draft. There are reasons, he's got some game. It's not like we're saying he's a total zero. My whole point on draft day was stop drafting contributors and start being like Detroit and drafting stars. Sewell, Hutchinson, Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, Amon. They're all stars. Why is Detroit? Because they're stars. Enough with a solid player. Draft some freaking stars.
If the NFL would redraft 2025, I'm not sure that Mykel Williams would go in round 1. And that's even before he tore his ACL. Okay, let's look ahead. People talking about Mac Jones getting traded. He's going to be in demand. There's not supposed to be like a real incredible class of college quarterbacks coming out. Vikings need a quarterback, clearly. I mean, there's teams that need quarterbacks. Mac Jones is the guy. If the Niners trade him, and I think they could maybe get a 3rd-round pick for him, and they don't want this quarterback controversy, and they don't want Mac Jones invalidating this extension they gave Brock Purdy by playing almost as well as him for a lot cheaper. If they trade him, who do you think the Niners could get to replace him? Would they just go with Curtis Rourke, or would they sort of bring in the next reclamation project? They've had success going down that avenue.
They have had a lot of success. I mean, I would imagine they don't even have to go look. I bet you guys will come to them. You know what I mean? I want to be the next Darnold. I want to be the next Mac Jones. I mean, it's we call this the copycat league for a reason. The coaches copy the other coaches. The GMs copy the other coaches. But get this, the players copy the other players. So I would bet like the Zach Wilsons of the world are going to be sprinting over here. But I'll give you a name that I think
they might be able to do better than Zach Wilson.
Well, I'll give you a name that I think is going to be the guy if there is a guy. First of all, I think it's very likely that it's nobody, that it's just Rourke and maybe somebody in the draft and Martinez, who I think they really like, and Brock. And I think they will probably trade Jones. But if you're thinking of like who's a viable guy, who I think's a viable guy is Davis Mills. Because Davis Mills knows the offense. Davis Mills is smart, went to Stanford. He has mobility. He has experience. He's never going to threaten Brock, but he's also has enough stature to step in and play and win and be good in this offense. And I think he's smart enough to know that Shanahan, it'll be very attractive to him to come home where he went to college, play for Shanahan. I think Davis Mills would be a good one. I mean, I'd say Tanner McKee, but I don't think you'd have to trade for Tanner McKee. They're not going to do that. I'd be interested
saying that Davis Mills is signed through 2026. You might have to trade for him as well.
Okay, yeah. So maybe. Well, I would say Zach Wilson for sure. Okay. I think Zach Wilson would love to be here. I would be interested in Anthony Richardson just because I think. We're at a point in history where you got to score in the red zone. And you got it. And what do the Eagles do? They got this tush push. But what does the tush push do? It puts your quarterback neck and head, which is very important, in harm's way. So, I mean, I get the tush push, but it's not for everybody. And you're really risking quite a bit, even though it looks like a real slam dunk of a play. But I think there's got to be something that you could do with Anthony Richardson in the red zone and on the goal line to have a special package. He's 6'4", 240 and runs 4.4. Are you telling me you can't use Anthony Richardson on the goal line? I'd be all about Anthony Richardson and seeing if I could develop him into some contributor. I think Anthony Richardson's skill set is super, super intriguing.
It's a good one. There's a few unrestricted free agents that are very intriguing to me. One, Malik Willis. Malik Willis. Every time he comes in for relief of Jordan Love, he looks good. And that system over there in Green Bay is a lot like the Niners system. He's 26. He's had some starting experience. Yeah. I mean, the Titans suck. And when he gets to play for the Packers, he looks very competent. I like Malik Willis. That's one guy. I need to be cheap. But let me give you some other names. Like,
DTR?
No. Flacco. If he still wants to play, like, he's legitimately a good quarterback. Marcus Mariota would be good on the Niners. I mean, he gets hurt, but he's always been a pretty good quarterback, and he has starting experience. And then there's one guy who I still won't quit, Mitchell Trubisky. I feel like Mitchell Trubisky would be a solid backup on this team.
I can't go Trubisky. I can't go Mr. Biscuit, but I like your.
If Sam Darnold can get it together, Trubisky can't. Oh, poor Mitch.
Here, I'll give you one. If you're looking for a viable one that actually could happen, Cousins. He's going to be. Not think of that. He's going to be cut loose. By the way, how bad is J.J. McCarthy? You're telling me I watched J.J. McCarthy last week. You're telling me that the Niners could call up the Vikings and just say, we're not giving you Mac Jones unless you give us like a second round pick and a really good player. Give us.
What if they offer the Niners J.J. McCarthy?
Yeah,
I don't think the Niners want him.
I don't want J.J. McCarthy.
It's like, what are we going to do with that? We need a guy who can play.
Take Donovan Jackson. I want your left guard from Ohio State. I want Donovan Jackson. I want somebody. I want something. I want some player with my second round pick. I'm not just you have J.J. McCarthy. You just got rid of Sam Darnold and watched him go, succeed elsewhere. I would imagine the head coach there is, definitely Kevin O'Connell, KOC. He's got to be under the pressure, right?
Well, I feel bad for him because was it his fault that they went to J.J. McCarthy? Look, I've been talking about this for years, and I feel more strongly than ever. I would never draft a quarterback in round one who has less than like 1,000 throws in college. Maybe I make an exception for 950. But this JJ had like 600 throws in college, and you left. That's what Trey Lance did. I mean, you can make money in college. You can transfer as much as you want. If you jump to the pros after 600 throws, it feels like you're trying to pull one over on people. Like, I don't want you to really examine me too much. My stock is high. If I go back to school, I might get exposed because I'm not that good. You should want to stay in school for 5 or 6 years. I mean, look at Bo Nix. It didn't hurt him. When you get into the league, you got to be ready to fucking play and play well. Otherwise, it's over. Your career's over. So I think that was a red flag, him just bouncing after the national championship. Like, if you think Michigan's going down the tank, transfer to Texas or something and keep playing and keep proving yourself, because 600 throws, you're going to be a bust. That's my rant.
Well, especially because that Michigan team he was on had like 18 guys that were drafted. It was one of the most loaded teams of all time. He had barely played. I mean, that's the Parcells rule. He wants to see 40 plus starts. He that's his barometer. If you haven't made 40 plus starts, we're not drafting you. I believe in that. I mean, you can't even find out because there's an adjustment period. It's like, what are you? Can you adjust to the defenses you're seeing? Oh, wait, now here's your skill sets. Who never adjusted? Kaepernick. I remember that game against Arizona. They dropped everybody into a soft zone, and they just nobody took their eyes off Kaepernick. And he so much gave away where he was going with the football that he threw 2 pick sixes in the first half, and I don't think he ever recovered. Look at his game log from the 2-pick-6 game in Arizona onward, I don't think they showed this guy is going to show us where he's going with the ball, and we're not going to try to play anything other than a soft zone and read his eyes. And then he didn't adjust back. That's it. Game over. You have to continue adjusting. That's why you have to be able to throw with some anticipation. If you can't throw with anticipation, that means you can't read coverage. You can't read coverage, you can't play. Eventually, they're going to turn off your water.
Do we disagree on this one? I'm trying to find something we disagree on.
Right. We were talking about that. What do we disagree on?
I'm adamantly against them trading Mac Jones. I think it's a mistake.
Okay.
I feel like you have a starting quarterback at $4 million a year. Hold on to that. I don't care if he's upset or not, he wants to leave or not, or if the Vikings want him or not. You got him. Hold on to him. You think they should trade him?
There's always a price tag, and I think you would admit too. You're just saying you wouldn't trade him for what you think.
Like, I don't anticipate like a first-round pick offer anyway. So, but I think he's worth more to the Niners than whatever the Vikings would offer.
So you're saying you think they're going to get a second, maybe, or a third, and that you wouldn't trade him for that.
Maybe a third.
See, I think he's going to get more. I think he's going to bring you a second, and then a mid-round pick, and maybe even a late day 3 pick. I think I think you can get 3 picks out of him, or I think you can get a second and a good player, because you better
get a bunch of day 2 picks, because John Lynch is going to mess up 2 of them.
You could get something that the Niners could turn into Dante Pettis or Drake Jackson. Plus, yeah.
I mean, it seems like an unfair thing to say, but we have 9 years of evidence to point to. It's been a problem.
I'll say this though. I don't go with this theory. Kyle can make anybody good. That's not true.
At quarterback?
I don't think he can make anybody good.
Okay, now we disagree. Boom, we found it.
You think he can make anybody good? He didn't.
Let's talk
Jimmy.
about it. Yeah.
I thought Jimmy was horrible. Now they went to the Super Bowl with Jimmy, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Eventually people adjusted, and then it was game over. I think he knows when to get off. I think Jimmy was going to be bad. He was bad with the Raiders. He was going to be bad with the Niners. Kyle knew that, and he's like, I gotta get off. Gotta get off Jimmy.
That being said, he won 70% of his starts. His numbers were better than they should have been. I mean, he wasn't good enough, but he played essentially well, and he eventually got replaced because they found a better quarterback who could do his job for much cheaper. Here comes Brock Purdy, who's a very good quarterback, way better than Jimmy Garoppolo is. But I still feel like there's quarterbacks who are struggling in the league. Bryce Young, he'd be great on the Niners. I'm not saying he'd be better than Brock, but I think he'd be good. I think C.J. Stroud would be really good on the Niners. I think Joe Flacco would be really good. I think freaking
was
Gardner
Trey Lance
Minshew.
really good on the Niners?
Who? Trey? Well, no. And C.J.
Justin
Beathard,
Fields
no.
be really good on the Niners?
No.
See,
I think 25 starting quarterbacks would play well in the Niners.
All quarterbacks are going to play better if they're supported. And the Niners come with, playing on the Niners comes with Kittle and Trent and CMC
running back,
and all these different guys, and Kyle. But the stat I can't get away from is when Brock came on the field against Miami in 22, non-Jimmy quarterbacks under Kyle were 9-29. So all those other guys, Hoyer, Beathard, Mullins, those guys were 9-29. So it's not just anybody can do it. They're picking the right guys. Like Mac Jones, I really thought was going to be good. I mean, I said it all off season. I'm like, this is going to be one of the best signings because he's accurate and he can process. And if you're accurate and you can process, you can run Kyle's system. But if you're not accurate and you can't process, you can't. So there's a lot of volume.
The guys who were the non-Jimmy quarterbacks were bad. I mean, Nick Mullins is not a starting quarterback. Beathard, not a starting quarterback. Hoyer, not a starting quarterback. But you take a guy like Sam Darnold, who's a struggling starter, but definitely a starter, and boom, he gets his career back on track. Same with Mac Jones.
But let's talk about Sam Darnold. He didn't even play with the Niners at all. And then when he did play, he didn't play well. He lost to Carson Wentz, and he was absolutely horseshit in that game. If you remember,
Sam Darnold playing with the backups.
Yes, he was. But remember the last play of that game? That was so Sam Darnold.
Yeah, didn't he fumble?
He fumbled and in the pocket. They were on the goal line. He's just a turnover machine. He's always been a turnover machine. But he just looked I just think people like Sam Darnold and love that arm. He's got a great arm. But like, did he really salvage himself with the Niners? Because I don't remember him looking awesome in preseason, and he never played at all. And then he played one start, and they lost at home, and he turned the ball over in the last moment. I mean, I don't know. I think people just like Sam Darnold's big arm, and then
I think if Sam
like a
Darnold could have played a
fastball
whole
that's like
season with
99.
McCaffrey and Kittle and Debo and Ayuk, he probably would have played pretty well. I'm not saying he would have been the
He had some
MVP,
moments,
but he's in the MVP, or he was until last week.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I think you're right that all quarterbacks would play better here. But all I'm saying is I think they've done a better job of picking their quarterbacks. And they pick guys who are good here. Like, I'm not sure if the guys who don't process could do well here. And I'm not sure if the guys who aren't that accurate could do well here. I think you got to have those two things. But if you are accurate and you can process, man, I mean, I think the Niners can beat some teams with Mac Jones.
Jacoby Brissett would do well in the Niners, is what I'm trying to say. And he's a fringe starter.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, and look, they can't go back and undo the contract. They got Brock Purdy. He's here. He's good. There are outs after 2026, though. So if he still keeps getting injured, if they can't win the Super Bowl, if this contract is weighing them down, they can always get out of it and take a different approach to the position and feel like as long as they have Kyle Shanahan, they not only don't need to spend a lot of money on the quarterback position, but maybe they really shouldn't spend a lot of money on the quarterback position because they can get good production out of it for cheap and they don't invest in the offensive line. So these guys get hurt anyway. Just saying.
The argument, I've seen the argument the last couple of weeks too. It's like, hey, there are people that are like, I kind of prefer Mac, but then I really prefer Mac when you factor in the contracts. One guy's making 53, the other guy's making 7. So, and then it's a cap sport. So there's the delta there you can spend on the rest of the roster. So, I mean, I get the argument.
And that's what they did when they were really good. That was their formula. And it's how they got around being so subpar drafting.
Well, that's how Seattle won their ring, right? They won with Russell on the rookie deal, and that's how, that's kind of a formula for how teams want to try to win. Get a quarterback on a rookie deal and, grow it up around him. That's what the Bears are trying to do right now with Caleb and Ben Johnson. And yeah, I mean, that's what the Commanders are trying to do with Jaden Daniels. But I mean, it's hard to do because it's hard to get that young quarterback who's also mature enough. The Niners seem like they had the
That's why I'm
saying
don't draft a guy. Just sign a guy who was a first-round pick, labeled a bust, been on a bad team, bring him here, give him George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and Kyle Shanahan. Watch him do well.
Let's just say this. I think you're discounting Brock Purdy. Here's why. When Brock Purdy left Iowa State, Matt Campbell, the great head coach who brought him there, stayed. And yet the year after Brock Purdy left there, they'd gone to the Fiesta Bowl with Brock Purdy. They went 1-9 in conference the year after Brock Purdy. So I'm just saying, Brock Purdy
he's
meant
a very
lot to
good
Iowa
quarterback.
State, and he's meant a lot to the Niners.
Hell of a quarterback. But the thing about Brock, he's a very good quarterback. Let's call him a B+ / A-. When he was on his rookie deal, he was an A++ quarterback because that contract was a cheat code. I mean, no one was outperforming their contract at quarterback like he was. Now the best he can do is live up to it. And that's pretty much what you could say about most quarterbacks getting paid this much. And the Niners have this uncanny ability to get quarterbacks to outperform their contract when they're making $4 million a year. It's quite an asset. And they don't tap into it enough, in my opinion. They're so eager to spend at this position when I think they don't have to. But if they want to, it's their money. I can't tell them what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look at it this way. I kind of see Brock Purdy as a very, very safe quarterback to build around. I think he's a lot like Hurts. If you can, he's a leader. He's dependable. Are there better quarterbacks? Yeah. But and can he do it by himself? No. But he is a really strong leader, a really athletic, versatile, tough quarterback. And if you can just build that fortress of an offensive line and build up your defense and get them a few weapons, I think you're going to win rings. The Eagles have proven it. They've already won a ring. The Niners have almost proven it. They've gotten really close, but I think that's the formula they're looking at. I think that's what they should look at. The Eagles have a way better offensive line, a way better defense. But, man, if you could give Brock Purdy a fortress up front and a much better defense, I think he's going to win a ring. I really think he's good enough. But I hear what you're saying because it does seem like in a cap sport, it's really hard to win with the quarterback making $50 million. You're going to have to, let's just say this. If they're going to pay Brock that money, Lynch has to miss fewer than 18 times in the first 3 rounds over 9 drafts. You got
They keep saying like, okay, like the
drafts.
Rams did it, right? The Rams had the reset. The Rams rebuilt through the draft. Yeah, well, the Rams have less need. Like the Rams are really good at drafting. They got Puka Nacua and all these guys in like a 2 or 3 year span. You guys haven't had a great draft since 2019. So maybe that'll work for you. It just seems to me like you said, it's so hard to build a great roster when you're spending so much money on one player. The cheat code, if you can do it, is to not spend on that position. If you cannot spend on that position, all of a sudden you can spend everywhere else. Drafting doesn't matter as much. And if you can still get high level play from that position without spending for it, I mean, that's when you build a team that's special.
They've never had this kind of flexibility before. I mean, if there was some sentiment of agreeing with you inside their organization, now would be the time to go for it, because you got a quarterback that can run your system, who's got stature, who's only 27. Mac Jones is going to play for the next 10 years. He's going to play in the NFL for the next 10 years. Okay, so you got him on your team right now. And if you want to, he's making $7 million. You could probably sign him to a nice, reasonable 2-year, $15 million extension, or 2-year, $20 million extension, and have him under contract for the next 3 years and try to trade Brock Purdy. I don't know what Purdy would fetch you, but you could do that right now. If you had the conviction that, man, Jones can do it, well, why not go? You can save all kinds of cap room if you really believe that he can do it. Other people say, you know what, Jones has some limitations. Now, I can see those limitations as far as a runner. I guess the question, it's more of a kind of a philosophical debate. Do you believe in 2025 that a non-mover, because that's what Jones really is, he's a pocket passer, he's like Jared Goff. Can a non-mover win the Super Bowl in 2025? Can a non-moving quarterback?
I mean, how many rushing yards does Matthew Stafford have this year? 0?
Yeah, I would consider him a non-mover.
Yeah, I mean, he's the front runner for the MVP, and he already won one Super Bowl a couple years ago. I mean, I'm not saying Mac Jones is Matt Stafford, but he did beat him this year. I think you can do it. I don't think there's one way you have to play the position. And that's a limitation for Mac, but like, doesn't Brock have limitations too? He's a little bit smaller. He's not as durable as Mac Jones. He misses games. Hell of a player, but everyone has limitations.
Yeah. I mean, Burrow's out. I mean, Burrow's a hell of a player, but he's been out, with this injury all year.
True.
So, yeah, I mean, and I think Burrow could probably do it. But I mean, just saying, you got to be really, really good.
Very good.
And
you got to be on a good team.
Yeah. I mean, Burrow's got Jamar Chase and Jaden Higgins, or T. Higgins. You got to have some weapons. I mean, that's the other thing. I don't know if the Niners have the weapons that they need right now.
And coming back full circle to the start of this show, can a quarterback win a Super Bowl without mobility? Can Brock Purdy win a playoff game without mobility? Because I think that's what we're going to see from Brock the rest of the season is 90% Brock. And where that 10% is missing is the burst, the 10-yard split that made him special. I mean, you could argue that's his most special trait, the 10-yard split. Physically.
Yep.
Physically. It's not his arm. It's not his build. It's that. And he doesn't have that right now. And that's okay. Like, now he has to find other ways to be great. See if he can do it.
You know what? He himself has a perfect template in watching Jones, who Jones can't move. And yet Jones wasn't sacked hardly at all behind this totally mediocre line. Why? Because when he hit his back foot, the ball came out. And when
you have Christian McCaffrey on your team, there's no reason to take a bunch of sacks. He's right there. Dump it off.
Dump it off. Avoid, I saw an interview Tom Brady did a couple years ago, and people always said, Tom, what was the key to your run, your success, and this and that? And he's like, quarterbacks focus on the wrong thing. He said, quarterbacks are always focusing on make a play, make a play, make a play, make a play. And that's great. You want to make a play, but you also should have a real equal focus on don't make a huge negative play.
Yep.
Don't make a huge negative play. He's like, I've learned to throw the ball away. And what makes Stafford right now? He's the same thrower that he was, but he no longer throws the picks. Now, when you're right about to sack him, he throws it into the ground. And if he's got to take a grounding penalty, he'll take the grounding penalty, but he's not going to take the strip sack. He's not going to throw the pick. You know what I mean? He's not going to give up possession of the ball.
I mean, no all-time great quarterback checked the ball down more often than Tom Brady. I mean, Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, those guys are running 6-yard routes. I'm just saying.
That's the old saying, Grant. You can't go broke making a profit.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Brady wasn't the most, I mean, he was great quarterback, but his highlights weren't that exciting. It's a lot of checkdowns to James White and Danny Amendola, and it worked. I'm just saying.
I thought the best that Brady ever was under Charlie Weiss when they would go 5 wide, empty the backfield, and he would sit there at the line of scrimmage and just hold the ball. And you could feel the pressure that it put on the defense. Everybody's spread out, and Tom's pointing, and the clock's ticking down. And then he'd take the snap, take a 3-step drop, boom. 3-step drop, boom. And you didn't know which 5 of the 5 eligibles where he was going. That was like deadly. I'd almost like to see Shanahan do a little bit of that. If they, now they can run the ball a little bit better. But if their run game didn't come around, just drop, instead of just spread everybody out, go empty, and see if Brock can be more accurate to his targets on these little short timing routes, and use that as your offense.
Yeah, let Brock go up tempo too, because you let Mac do that a few times, and that was the best moments of Mac's tenure with the 49ers, was when he could get the ball and make quick throws to Sky Moore or Jake Tonjes or whoever he felt like, not like the, let Kyle call 2 plays and I'll say both of them, and then you'll go in motion, and you'll go in motion, and you'll go in motion, and then I'll force the ball to whoever Kyle wants me to force it to. Let the quarterbacks take, you got 2 good ones.
Don't take any risks. I mean, that's the other thing what the Rams are doing. They're taking fewer and fewer risks. They're going to run it more. They got 3 tight ends. They got these sure-handed guys. They're not going to take any risks. Heck, when we saw Baltimore, Grant, Kansas City go into Baltimore and beat the Ravens in the playoffs a year ago or whatever it was, 2 years ago, they basically just took everything away from Baltimore, because they're just like, you know what? We got a great interior offensive line. We're just going to run. We're going to run Pacheco between the A gaps on 1st and 2nd down. We're going to get to 3rd and 3, and then we're going to just let Mahomes throw a stop route to Kelsey or whomever, and that's how we're going to drive. We're not going to take a 7-step drop. We're not going to take some big 5-step drop and sit back there and let the Ravens sack us and all these negative plays. Screw that. We're just going to run on 1st and 2nd down, short, quick passing game. And the Ravens had no sacks. They made no impact, and they lost that game at home.
You, a few minutes ago, compared Brock Purdy to Jalen Hurts, and there are some similarities there. One of the things that makes Jalen Hurts unique, though, is that he doesn't turn the ball over. With the exception of 2023 when he threw 15 picks, this year he has 1. Last year he had 5. 2022 he had 6. He's not the best quarterback, but like you said with Tom Brady, I mean, it's not necessarily about how many plays you make. He's going to give you those first downs and touchdowns without having to really run. He just falls forward, and he doesn't turn the ball over. That's winning football.
You know what he doesn't do that Brock does do? Jalen Hurts hardly ever throws the ball in the middle of the field. He works the sidelines. So there's not a lot of turnovers.
Those are low risk throws.
Yeah, you're not going to have to turn the ball over on throws. If you're living in the middle of the field, there's going to be some linebacker you don't see.
There's balls, overthrows. You got to layer it.
Turnovers. There's going to be turnovers. Yeah. Brock operates more in the middle of the field. Brock also, I'll say this too, in watching this last game, Brock is really good right now on those corner routes where you can throw it with a little loopiness to it. Doesn't have to have a lot of velocity. You're kind of throwing it to the void. And if it goes incomplete, it's just out of bounds. And that, to me, looks like a real dangerous route to JJ. Those timing routes to the corner where it's like JJ's going to catch it or it's going to go out of bounds. There's no defender on that. That seems like where they want to live. But when somebody takes that away and you got to start making plays in the middle of the field, how much zip does he have on the ball? Can he put it in the tight windows? I think that those questions are still left unanswered. All right, a little break from the content to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper. This 49er football season is presented on the Krueger Show by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and, of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use promo code Larry, Larry, and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply.
Super chats and get out of here. Sir Cash Money, who never makes any sense, says, are y'all more of a Blonde Blazer or Invisigal fan? Good question. I'll have to get back to you on that one. Delvin Thomas
not
says
really sure
Doug
what that even
Flutie,
means.
not Favre. He won a Super Bowl. Brock's great. Doug Flutie.
Not Favre.
Doug Flutie.
Doug
He's good.
Flutie. I'll say this. Doug Flutie had a huge arm. Doug Flutie had one of the greatest arms all time. That throw that he made to Phelan or whatever against the Hurricanes in the Boston College comeback win. That thing was like 75 yards in the air.
Wasn't Drew Brees his backup at one time on the Chargers, or was Flutie Drew Brees' backup?
I think Flutie might have been the backup. I will say this though, Flutie
Okay.
had the greatest individual play I've ever seen in my entire life. I was watching film. I was in the Canadian League. He was in a preseason game, Grant. He took the snap at the 3-yard line. He retreated 18 yards into the end zone and then ran it for a touchdown. 120 yards, 118-yard run.
Wow. What an athlete.
Amazing.
East Dad says using sheet refers to the swear word without. Gotcha. Spider369 says if they fired Lynch or promoted him, who would you like as a replacement? If they trade Mac to the Vikings, I'd take JJ McCarthy in a pick.
JJ McCarthy's ass.
JJ.
Come on, JJ McCarthy.
He seems like Trey Lance. He seems too green. He seems like a guy who should have stayed in school.
He has no accuracy. He can't throw a simple out without airmailing it by 11 yards. Receivers are going to laugh at him. He's awful. But if I were the Niners, I wouldn't necessarily get rid of Lynch. What I would do is I would go hire a draft guy who's like a proven guy, like a Scott McCloughan or a John Dorsey, just to sit in on your draft meetings from the end of the season through the draft and give you another voice in the room. If you're open-minded and you care about making quality decisions, you will welcome another informed voice that's independent. Pay somebody a half a mil, $400,000 or $500,000, whatever, and hire them for half the year and let them sit in. John Dorsey went to Kansas City. Mahomes showed up. John Dorsey went to Detroit, and all kinds of good players showed up. John Dorsey's a good consultant. That's what I would do.
Joshua Wyatt says Mac is exactly the guy we expect him to be out of college. 12th in QBR, one read checkdown merchant with plus arm talent. The same guy we screamed they could not draft. Why has your opinion changed? I disagree with your assessment. I don't think he's a one read checkdown merchant. I think he has a really good arm. I think he threw down. I mean, you were there in training camp. I think he threw downfield a lot in training camp. He just was playing with Demarcus Robinson and Jawan Jennings, who were dropping his passes down the field. I think he showed that he's really tough. I think he showed that he's a leader. I didn't know that he had those qualities coming out of college. And I think he got steadily better as time went on with the 49ers. Like his best performance statistically was his loss to the Rams. I mean, his QBR was off the charts. It was his best performance. So that's why I like him.
This guy's really good. I'll say this. Yeah, I mean, if your premise is wrong, your conclusion's wrong, right? And I think your premise there is a little wrong. One, I would say, don't forget that Mac Jones is the record holder for completion percentage in college football. He completed one year at Alabama 77%. That is the FBS record. This guy's incredibly accurate with the football. That's one. But I think what Grant just said, he walked into the Niner room where Brock Purdy's very popular, and he found a way to ascend to leadership in the room without upstarting or undercutting Brock. And he also didn't have to be anything but who he is. Mac Jones is very likable. He's accurate. He plays on time. He's a likable guy. He's smart. He doesn't have big time mobility, but he's got a great release. I also think that the hardest football that I saw all summer was the day one of the Niners practice with the Broncos. And it was Mac Jones who stood that pressure in the eye and just said, you know what, I'm going to be awesome. He was awesome that day. He was like 16 for 17 against a really tough rush. And Brock was like 16 for 32 that day. So, Jones is a lot better than people think.
And people say like, well, he's not mobile, so he needs a good offensive line. But we saw that's not the case. He played behind the Niners offensive line. He got rid of the ball quickly. He's tough. He keeps getting up. Like he can function without great pass protection. Someone like Sam Darnold kind of can't. If you give him a really good offensive line and playmakers, Sam Darnold can do more than Mac Jones. You can roll him out. He could probably throw it further down the field. But if he
Mack's a
doesn't
better
have that pass
decision maker.
protection, I'll take Mac Jones.
He's a better decision maker. Mac's
Yeah.
a better decision maker. Mac at the end of the day is more accurate. And you know, the way that he led this team and the way his personality, seeing him interact with the guys, he's one of the guys. He's a very likable. He's got a lot of charisma, man. I know it's a weird thing to say because you're like, hey, you know, Krug, that sounds so it's undefinable. It sounds so softy, you know, touchy feely and all that stuff. But he's got real charisma. That's part of the deal, dude. It's a room full of type A personalities, and you got to get them to be behind you, and it ain't an easy thing to do. So I'm very impressed by Jones. I think I agree with Grant from one perspective. I would not give Jones away. There's a price tag I would move him for, but I would absolutely not give him away because look what he is. I mean, I think he's got a big future in the NFL. I think he's going to play well for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you put him on the Vikings, I don't think he'd be I don't think he'd be checking down. I think he'd be bombing it to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I mean, look at him at Alabama. He wasn't checking down. He was bombing it down the field to Henry Ruggs and Jalen Waddle and Jerry Jeudy. I mean,
Mac Jones had a better chemistry with Brian Thomas Jr. than Trevor Lawrence.
That's right. So Joseph Ernberg says, can we mock the 4 straight D linemen now? Larry the GOAT. Bill Kennedy says, if Niners draft offensive tackle, how long to make an impact? They'll draft. No, they won't necessarily draft one. They haven't drafted one since 2021. John Maximus says, do you think Michael Jones goes to the Rams in 27?
I have no idea who that is.
Who's Michael Jones? Bill Kennedy says, Ernberg knows Larry's buttons. Adrian Dank memes LOL says, do you think one of the reasons they stick with Brock is because of his playoff success? And do you believe Matt can handle the playoffs? I think that's a big reason they gave him the money. But I think now the biggest reason they're sticking with Brock is because they gave him the money and they don't want to make that look like a bad investment immediately.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, I mean, they gave Brock $181 million of their boss's money. They're gonna even though Jed's got a lot of money and he didn't necessarily work for that money, he was born into this money, but you got to have some respect for what that represents, and they're not going to be that knee jerk or cavalier about. They're, oh, well, now Mac Jones is better. Oh, now, you know, it's like, and if they are like that, Jed's going to be like, well, wait a second. If you're so quick to jump to that Mac Jones is better, then why did you have me spend $181 million guaranteed of my money for this guy? And then Jed starts asking those questions. Eventually, he's like, you know what? These guys are going by the seat of their pants. There's nothing to them. We're moving on. So I don't think that day's come, but that's why they're not, you know, Jones would have had to have been exceptional, just absolutely exceptional. And even then, I don't think
nothing he could have done.
They're committed.
Nothing he could have done. Purdy. Bill Kennedy says Brock Purdy would have taken $35 million, take it or leave it. No, but again, the Niners didn't have to extend him. They could have said, Brock, sorry, well, you got to play one more year. You got to wait one more year to get paid. If you want to hold out, I don't think. First of all, I don't think you would. But if you want to, good luck. They couldn't. And if they had, his value would have gone down this year. 1, because of the injury, and 2, because of Mac Jones. They could have saved some money.
He might have been
Come
worth
on,
$35
Friday,
million
Panthers
next
will
year.
win this game. 35 points on D. Panthers will win this game. Maybe. Possible. I mean, the Niners, like you said, didn't I dismiss, we were talking last week, didn't I dismiss Jacoby Brissett? And you're like, why would you say that? The Niners have no pass. You did that, right? You're like, he's going to look really good.
I was saying to you that, you know what, Grant? I feel like 4 weeks from now, we're going to have a bunch of people calling us going, hey, you know what? Brissett's pretty good. And you know what? Cam Ward's pretty good. And you know what? Dylan Gabriel's pretty good. And, you know, because you have no pass rush. And if you have no pass rush, everybody's pretty good.
I was saying, did Jacoby Brissett a free agent? No, they signed him to a 2-year deal too. See, no one's talking about that. That was one of the other good deals of the offseason. 2-year deal for Jacoby Brissett. Man,
whoever
Niners
decided,
have success with those.
Whoever decided a 2-year deal for the Niners deserves a bonus because they gave the 49ers a very tradable, marketable asset now to move. And that will help.
My hot take is that was the best move of the offseason, signing a starting quarterback for that cheap. And that that move was so good that it made the Brock Purdy signing their worst move because the other one exists. That's my hot take. Because
Well,
the whole premise of paying Brock is like, he's one of one, only he can do this. This is so hard to find. And it's like, kinda. Now we have someone who's marginally worse. Maybe like he's 90% of Brock, or better. I don't know. And I don't know.
Well, Grant, guess what? This story also is not over.
That's true.
Because what do we know about Brock Purdy? We know a couple things. He's incredibly competitive. They're going to probably play playoff games on the road, and he's operating behind a pretty weak offensive line. So Guess what? Super competitive guy on the road, behind in games with a questionable offensive line.
And a questionable toe.
The turf toe could be nothing compared to the injuries this guy could have. And Mac Jones right now looks like a tradable asset. Mac Jones could be easily their 26th starting quarterback if things don't go well.
That's
for the Niners
so true,
down the
right?
stretch.
Like Brock Purdy plays one game, doesn't get hurt, and everyone's like, so are we trading Mac? Hey, can we wait a month to see if Brock Purdy can?
He's going to be playing in the playoffs on a team that's going to be an underdog on the road, most likely, with a bad offensive line and not a lot of great receivers. Brock Purdy could be crunched, crumbled, destroyed. I mean, there's a lot of ball left, and he's not. Brock Purdy's also such a competitor. He's not going to go down like up three. He's not going to be Alex Smith throwing 13 third down passes out of bounds. He's not going to do that. He's going to try to win as a runner, as a thrower, as a whatever, and he's probably going to take some big hits in the process. And anybody's guess as to what his condition will be at the end of this year.
Last question, we're out of here. If the Niners lose to the Panthers, do they make the playoffs?
No, it's a big one.
Kind of an important game
because the Panthers might get that spot, and this is almost like a 2-game deal. Because if the Niners are 1 game in front of the Panthers, but if they lose this game, they go tied, but they lose the head-to-head. So it's really like 2 losses. So no, they have to win this game, and they have to win the Bears game.
That's why I feel like this game is interesting. Those 2 games, because the Niners defense is so bad right now. Like they could make Bryce Young and Caleb Williams look like the number 1 picks that they are. I don't know what Shedeur Sanders is going to do to the Niners. He might just be terrible. I have no idea what to expect. Although if he has time to throw, he might be good. So next few, and then Cam Ward, number 1. They have 3 number 1 picks they got to face down the stretch.
Yeah. Here's the other thing.
Yeah.
It's like Robert Saleh. When are you going to use Nick Martin as a pass rusher? The guy has 4.5 speed. He had a bunch of sacks in college. Devise some sub package and run Nick Martin at the quarterback. You're going to run Chase Lucas at the quarterback. You're going to run Upton Stout at the quarterback. Why? Because they're fast. Well, put Nick Martin on the field and run him at the quarterback because he's fast too. Nick Martin played. We've been told Nick Martin can't play. Nick Martin can't play. He's not ready. He played 14 snaps. He had 7 tackles, 5 of them solo. I think he seemed like he might have been ready.
Larry, great show. Everyone, thanks for watching. It's been an extended week because they play on Monday, so there was no availability today. Larry and I will be down there tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. It'll be like the Wednesday. Normally, we'll get Kyle Shanahan and Christian McCaffrey and all the stars. So, Larry, see you at work tomorrow. Thanks for today.
There you go. No days off. No days.
Sorry for calling you dad. Don't tell my dad I did that.